Please make sure that you have your notebook and something to write with before we start the session. My name is Lerato Mabilisa and I will be your host. With me is Mr. Sifunza, who will be teaching science today for grade 7 students. Alongside is Tobile Fagute and Nompumelelo Hadebe, who will be our sign language interpreters. Greetings, Mr. Sifunza.
Hello, Lerato. How are you?
I'm all right. So, what are we going to be learning today?
Today we are looking at body systems. As you know, a human being has a lot of systems taking place as he is a living being.
Okay, so what is the outcome of today's lesson? What would you like the learners to have learned by the end of the lesson?
Alright, by the end of the lesson, the learners should be in a position to understand the functions of each and every body system, and then they should give all the organs that are involved in each body system as well as their functions. That's those are the outcomes of the lesson today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sifunza. I hope you've heard. Over to you now, Mr. Sifunza.
Okay, the first body system that we are going to look at is the digestive system. Right now I'm going to show you a diagram of the digestive system. It shows clearly what happens to food when it is being ingested in the mouth. I will be pointing out as well as giving details as to what happens in the food station. Right now I am going to talk about what exactly digestion is. Digestion is defined as the process by which food is broken down into smaller pieces that the body can use. Now we are going to go to our diagram, where I will show you clearly what happens to food when it is being ingested or eaten by a person. Right now on the diagram, where I am highlighting is the mouth. In the mouth, food is chewed, food is broken down by the teeth and mixed with saliva. Then the food will go down to this part called the gullet. The gullet is just a passageway for food as it goes to the stomach. The stomach is that which is highlighted by the red color there. In the stomach, food now is mixed with the stomach juices and the food is churned, meaning that the food is being turned around and it spent some time in the stomach so that it can be turned over and be mixed well with the stomach juices. Then from there, the next station that we are going to look at is the small intestine, highlighted with the red color there. In the small intestine, food is further broken down by means of chemicals. These chemicals are called enzymes. Now what happens next is that the food will be moved to the next station, which is the large intestine. As you can see in the diagram, the large intestine, I'm going to highlight them with a green color. The large intestines right here. In the large intestines, the food now, it is not just food, but it is the undigested food, because the digested food will be shown in will be absorbed in the small intestines. Then the undigested food will move on to the larger intestine as undigested food called a feces or waste. The next station is the rectum. I will just put that small circle there to highlight where the rectum is. The rectum is just the storage for the feces or undigested food. I'm going to go back a little bit and talk about the fact that in the large intestine, water is absorbed there, and then before the undigested food goes to the larger intestines. Then from there, the undigested food called feces will be taken out through the anus, and then that is just the journey that is taken by food as it is ingested in the mouth, and then to the part whereby it is absorbed in the small intestines, and then from there to the part where water is being absorbed in the larger intestines, and then from there the undigested food called the feces is taken to the large intestine, to the rectum, and then from there it will be taken out as waste. That is all about digestion. But before I move on, I am sure the learners have questions like, how is the food really absorbed? Do we, when we eat an apple, does the apple that we eat get to be absorbed into the bloodstream? Not really, because the food goes through a process, a long process in the alimentary canal. From the mouth, it is being broken down so that in the small intestine, when absorption takes place, the minerals that are in the food will be absorbed into the bloodstream so that they can be used by the body during processes like respiration. That's all about the digestive system. That's in short. I will just, for the viewer who's just joined us, I will just give a brief summary of what happens in the digestive system. We said that in the digestive system, we have organs like the mouth, highlighted in yellow, the gullet, also highlighted in yellow, the stomach, highlighted in red, and then the small intestine, it's a bit busy there, it's not very clear, but then the small intestines are those small tubes there that are highlighted in the red color. And then we have the large intestines also, as well as the rectum, shown with that green circle there. And then we have the anus, whereby it is the large station for the food. I will just go through a bit as to what really happens to the food in these stations. In the mouth, we said that food is being physically broken down by means of the teeth, mixed with the saliva in the mouth so that it can be easily swallowed. The food will then go through the small tube highlighted in yellow called the gullet. As it goes down through the gullet, it moves by means of peristalsis, which is the squeezing movement of food along the alimentary canal. Then in the stomach, we said that food is mixed with stomach juices, and then from there, food will spend some time in the stomach before it moves on to the small intestines, sometimes called the colon. In the small intestine, there is further breaking down of food by enzymes. Then the food will go or will be absorbed in the small intestines. Then the food will move on to the larger intestine, where it will be just undigested or unabsorbed food. Then from there, the next station will be the rectum, which is the storage of which acts as the storage for feces. Then from there, we move down to the anus, where food will be dropped out of the body as waste. The next body system that we are going to look at, it will be the circulatory system. The circulatory system. I am sure a lot of you do understand the circulatory system because it's one of the most important systems taking place in the body. The circulatory system consists of the following organs. We have just 3 of the organs. Number 1, it is the heart. Number 2, the blood vessels. And number 3, it will be the blood itself. One may ask himself a question as to why circulation? Why must blood circulate around the body? I mentioned earlier that the food that we eat, up, it has to be absorbed into the bloodstream and be transported by the blood. I think by now you do understand that the most important part of the blood is transportation. It acts as a transportation agent. Now I'm going to go back to the diagram where I will talk about the organs that are part of the circulatory system. I am not sure if it is clear enough. Yes, it is happening. I wanted to be sure if those parts that I'm showing are being highlighted. I'm very happy it's happening. So now we have the heart, That arrow, that black line shows where the heart is. The heart acts as a pumping organ. It pumps blood to all the parts of the body, even your smallest toe in the foot. And then we have also blood vessels. Blood vessels are simply tubes through which blood travels around the body. And then lastly, we have the blood itself. I'm sure a lot of you think as blood is just that sometimes they do not like blood. They think blood is a bit disgusting when they see blood. But then blood is very important in the body in the sense that it does the transportation of a lot of things that the body needs. Going back to the diagram, I want to speak of the functions. I did mention on the function of the heart, whereby I said that it is the pumping organ. And then now I will show you briefly the blood vessels. These are blood vessels, the blue one and as well as the yellow, the red one. And then we have also blood. Blood is inside the blood vessels. Those are the organs found there. And then from there, the blood vessels, these two tubes, and there are many blood vessels in the body. There are three types of them actually. Actually, we have veins, capillaries, and arteries. Veins, capillaries, and arteries. Unfortunately, it does not show on the diagram as to which part, which blood vessel is a vein and which one is an artery. But I will just give you a picture as to which one is that. I will talk about veins. Veins are responsible for bringing blood into the heart. Where I am pointing in my body, that's where the heart is situated. Now, and then arteries, they are responsible for taking blood away from the body, from the heart. And then capillaries are the small blood vessels. I will give over to Lerato.
Thank you, Mr. Sifunza. We're going to take a quick break, or rather let me say a quick water break, and then when we come back, Mr. Sifunza continues. Welcome back to the show. We're continuing with Mr. Sifunza, learning about the circulatory system.
Oh, thank you, Lerato. Let me just, before I move on with the circulatory system, I just want to go back. I may have misled the learner. There's something I said. I think I made a mistake there. When I speak of the colon is the large intestine. Therefore, the small intestine, we call them the ileum. I hope that one is clear. I don't want to appear as a teacher who doesn't know. Thank you. Thank you. I hope that one is clear. Now we are going to move on with the circulatory system. We're talking about the circulatory system, whereby we looked at organs that are involved in the circulatory system, whereby we said that we have blood itself, the heart, as well as the blood vessels. And then now we are going to look at the heart. I have a diagram that I want to show you, whereby it shows the heart. I want us to study the heart, how the heart is and what the heart is made of. We have the heart, the pumping organ for blood. The heart is a muscular organ, which is divided. I'm just preparing to show you very well what I mean. The heart is made. I'm sorry. Let me do that. The heart has 4 chambers. I'm going to highlight them. We have the lower chambers, this one and this one. We call these lower chambers highlighted in green. We call them the ventricles. The names of these two are being highlighted, of which this one, highlighted in red now, is the left ventricle, and then this one, highlighted also in red, is the right ventricle. Up we have these two ones with the red dots. Those are called the atria in plural, but when it is just one, we say this one here is the left atrium and this one is the right atrium. This is the pumping organs. It has the veins coming in, the biggest vein called the vena cava, and we have the aorta, which is the biggest artery. I'm not going to dwell much there. I'm going to move on to the next I'm going to move on to the next system that we have to look at, which is the excretory system. Excretion. Briefly, it is excretion. Now you will note that when we talk about these body systems, you should recall that we have a body, a human body, a living person, that is a living thing. A living thing has characteristics that makes that living thing to be a living thing, one of which is excretion, or taking out waste. Now we are going to look at how exactly human beings get rid of waste. We have that diagram, which I hope you see, viewers at home, learners at home, my grade 7s there. We have this diagram. Before we go to the diagram, I want to tell you that this is not just the focus. This is not only the focus. I'm sure you have seen the kidneys that were shown. It is not the focus. When we talk about waste in the body, it is not just the urine that we take out when we do number 2 in the toilet. But what happens is there are different kinds of waste that the body excretes or take away. One of which is when I breathe out, exhaling. When I breathe out, I take out air, not just carbon dioxide. There's a misconception with a lot of learners thinking that when you breathe out carbon dioxide. No, but what happens, you take out air that has a lot of carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide comes from the body. It is produced during the process of respiration, and then you take it out through the lungs when you exhale. And then another waste that we take out as human beings, as living organisms, is sweat, which is the mixture of salts that are being excreted through the skin. When you see a person sweating, it means that the person is getting rid of some kind of waste that the body does not need anymore. And then we have this other one that I'm going to talk about shortly, which is the waste called nitrogenous waste, which is excreted in by the kidneys, and then that is when you go to the toilet and take a piss. Now I want to show you the diagram of the kidneys, which are our excretory organs. I am sure that is going to appear to you very soon. Now kidneys are responsible for taking waste, which I said it is nitrogenous, and then the waste goes to some tubes. You are going to see that shortly. These tubes are called ureters. I'm going to try and write right here so that you can see what exactly do I mean. Just give me a moment. All right, we have number 1 there. Number 1, as you can see, those are the kidneys. The one shown number 1, this one, is the left kidney, and this one is the right kidney. Then we have number 2. Number 2 is a part, I'm sure back in grade 3 you learned that these are tubes coming from the kidneys. That is true, but they are given names. They are called ureters. Ureters, meaning that those are tubes coming from the kidneys. And then we have number 3, which is the bladder. It is a sac-like tube whereby it is muscular, it is more elastic, meaning that you can fill in as much urine to a certain capacity. And then we have number 4, called a urethra. Urethra. I'm going to try and write those. Just bear with me. We have urethra. Urethra. I don't want you to be confused. And ureter. I hope it is clear. I'm going to zoom out, and so that you are able to see. Yes, ureter and urethra. Pardon me with the handwriting, but that's just it. I want you to note the differences between the two. We have this one here. Oh, I'm still zooming out. I hope still it's clear. We have the ureter, which is the tube responsible for taking the waste from the kidneys to the bladder, number 3. Number 3 is the bladder. And then the urethra now, its function is to take out the urine from the bladder outside the body. It is when we get rid of the urine that is stored in the bladder. The bladder, its function is to store the urine that comes from the kidneys. And then now, I have spoken about the kidneys. I spoke earlier about the lungs, their function being taking out or excreting carbon dioxide, whereby we then exhale air that has a lot of carbon dioxide. I also spoke about the skin. Its function now, the skin's function, is to get rid of waste called sweat. We are going to move on to number 4. Number 4, whereby we are looking at the skeletal system now. I am sure a lot of you have seen skeletons in the books before, but then what is mostly important to note, I will just highlight a bit because we are running out of time. The skeletal system is the framework of the body, the internal framework of the body. Never mind these words that are next to the diagram. Just look at the diagram. I will just briefly talk about the diagram, whereby we are talking about the skeletal system, whereby we have all these different parts here: the skull, the rib cage, the hip bone, and we have quite a number of these bones. I think if you open your book, the grade 7 book, it shows you clearly the names of each and every bone that is in the body. But what I want to talk about now is the function, because we're about knowing the functions of the skeletal system, of each and every system. The functions of the skeletal system are protection, meaning that the skeletal system protects delicate or vital organs of the body, such as the brain. I am sure a lot of you have never seen the brain, but the brain is housed inside the head, covered by a special bone called the skull. And then we also have the rib cage, sifuba, the rib cage right here. There are important organs of the body, one of which is the heart. And then we have the lungs as well, which are being protected by the rib cage. And then we are going to move on to the next function of the skeletal system, which is locomotion or movement. Please use movement. The skeletal system helps the body of a human being to move. The skeletal system works with the muscles of the body to make movement possible in a human being. For example, if you move your hand towards your face, there are muscles that work there. We have muscles that are found in the upper arm called the bicep muscle, and the tricep muscle. They work in helping you move your hand. Therefore, movement in the body is being carried out or orchestrated by the skeletal system. And then lastly, we are going to talk about the last function of the skeletal system, which is support. You know, I will just like to put this one as a SWOT. If there was no skeletal system, umuntu angaba indrundru manje, into lengabonakala. So the importance of the skeletal system is support. It makes all the organs to sit in their correct position. All right, that is about the skeletal system. One thing that I want to point out about the skeletal system before I move on quickly to the last body system is that there are joints. Joints in the head, joints all over. Joints are simply where two or more bones meet. For example, we have a joint here in the knee, and that joint is movable, meaning that you can move around your knee. And also the elbow, where I'm highlighting in red, is the elbow, and that elbow is a movable joint, meaning that your hand can move around. Those are the two types of joints that I'm talking about. I've spoken about movable joints so far, but there are joints that are not movable. We call them fixed joints. We call them fixed joints, and they are found in the skull. One example of a fixed joint is the skull. I don't know, Lerato, do we have any questions so far or anything that we need to highlight on before I move on to the next body system?
There are questions from the past sessions, which is what gives blood color, what happens during respiration, and how does the skeleton affect the brain. So to begin with, what gives blood color?
Okay, that one is a bit of a question that is beyond a grade 7 learner. Yes, it is. They are going to look at that in high school, but there is a part in the blood called the hemoglobin. I'm not going to dwell much because I will end up confusing the learner at home. I can just quickly take the next question.
Okay, what happens during respiration?
Okay, let me first let me define what respiration is. Respiration is the process by which food is burnt in the body, in the cells of the body, to release energy and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is released as a waste product. So we use oxygen to burn the food that we have eaten, that is in the cells. So that's what happened. That is why we then have a carbon dioxide as a waste, because it is produced when food is being burnt in the cells of the body.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sfunza. I hope the learners have learned something today at home from the session. So join my colleague Nolwazi Dlamini in the next session for the JC learners. From Lerato, I'll see you guys later.